What's up, guys? Scotty2Hockey here, aka the average hockey fan. And I've been seeing a lot going around on Facebook and Twitter and social media in general. A lot of Habs fans are wondering about Alexander Romanov, if he could come to Montreal next year, possibly. I've even heard some Habs fans say, will he be in the AHL next year? I had to fill you guys in on a couple things about Romanov. Getting him to Montreal next year is no piece of cake by no means. He's not signed for the Montreal Canadiens. He's currently under contract in the KHL up until the end of next year, up until the end of 2020. His KHL team, CSK Makova, they have him signed up until the end of 2020, and they could re-sign him if they wanted to. There's no guarantee Montreal could keep this prospect. If he wanted to stay the rest of his career in Russia, he could sign a 3-4 year deal with Makova, see how it works out, and maybe have a KHL career. I'm not saying by any means he is going to do that. I very, very highly doubt he's going to do that. His favorite players are Peter Forsberg and Patrick Kane, former NHLers, and I'm sure this guy wants to come to the NHL, and he deserves to come to the NHL, but the Habs have to sign him, and they cannot negotiate with him. They can only negotiate with his KHL team. And in order to get this guy to the NHL, if he did get signed, he would be coming immediately to the NHL, because not only would they have to sign him to a contract, they would pretty much have to buy out his KHL contract or compensate his KHL team a pretty penny to bring him to the NHL. And Marc Bergevin has a pretty good quote that he made to TSN Radio, Dan Robertson. I believe it was right after the World Junior Tournament or a couple months ago. He said, the exact quote from Bergevin was, "I know it's early, but you can definitely see in a year from now, he could play in the NHL third line pairing all day long." So if he doesn't re-sign Jordy Ben, if he doesn't re-sign Brett Kulak, it could mean Jeff Molson is dipping into his pockets to sign Alexander Romanov to buy out his KHL contract or compensate the KHL team CSKA Makova to bring Alexander Radulov over. Whether or not he feels like he's ready to do that or it's worth it, I could not. But I think he may do that, because you think about it, if he doesn't do this next year, if he doesn't sign Romanov, I always say Radulov instead of Romanov back then. If he doesn't sign Romanov by next year, the year after would be the opportunity he would have to sign him, because his KHL contract would be up. Then he could negotiate with the Habs. The KHL could offer him anywhere up to $3.7 million. The most the Habs could offer him on an entry-level contract, I believe, is $970,000, something like that. Bit over $1 million, maybe. I'm not exactly sure what the ELC cap limit is, but I know one thing, that he should sign with the Habs, but the thing is, if they wait till the year after next year, that's the year there's a possible lockout. That's the year that there's a bargaining agreement going down. There's all kinds of stuff. 2021 is saying there could be a possible lockout. So the year you sign him, the year you want to bring him to the NHL, the year you're supposed to sign him, there's a possible lockout. And he could see this coming. He could know there's going to be an NHL lockout coming. And the Habs may miss the chance to sign him, and he may re-sign the NHL. So Marc Bergevin may have to go for it next year. Kind of Jeff Molson has to go for it too, guys, because he's the one who has to dip into his pockets and buy out that KHL contract or compensate Romanov. So that's a bit of information for you guys that are wondering if Alexander Romanov is going to come to Montreal next year. I'm going to say the chances are probably 50-50. He could come to Montreal next year. With Marc Bergevin with a quote out there months ago after the World Junior Tournament that he sees this guy being able to play third pairing D in the NHL all day long. That's the type of player the Habs need, because then they could possibly slip Brett Kulak up with Jeff Petrie, and then they have Radulov on the third line with Fowl and Ben, who's ever there at the time, whoever they sign at the time or bring in. So it's a possibility he could come to Montreal next year. It's 50-50, but if he does come to Montreal, he's not going to the AHL. If the Habs sign him, he is not going to the AHL. I can guarantee you that much right now. If he gets signed next year, he is 100% coming to the NHL. So we'll have to see what Bergevin and Molson decide to do there. I'm going to tell you a bit about this guy's stats and see what you guys think. Romanov is 19 years old. His position is D. He shoots left, so what Montreal's looking for. He's not so much an offensive dynamo, but in international play he has been. But in the KHL, he's playing with men, and he's only 19 years old. He was drafted as second round, number 38. He's a part of the Philip Deneau deal. I believe they traded Dale Weiss and some other guy for Philip Deneau and a second round pick, which ended up being Romanov. And in CSKA Makova this year, that's the name of the team he plays for the KHL. CSKA Makova. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. In 43 games played, he has 1 goal, 3 assists, and 4 points. In the World Junior Tournament, where he was the top D-man, the third point getter among all players, forwards, D-man, he had 7 games played, 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points. And in the Russian under 20 junior tournament this year, in 15 games played, he had 3 goals, 7 assists. So in the KHL, he's not so much an offensive dynamo. So that's what doesn't worry me so much, because if the KHL does offer him a contract, they're not a league that hands out huge contracts. You have to be a special player, and this guy could possibly be a future special player, but he is far from tearing it up in the KHL. You look at his numbers, he only has 1 goal, 3 assists playing with men in the KHL, 4 points. Is that worth the guy that you're going to take to try and steal from the Habs and offer him a big contract? I'm not sure if it is, but Mark Bergevin and Jeff Molson, if he's going to come, he has to come next year. They had to jump on it next year. They had to go to CSA, KA, Makava. They had to offer him the money. They had to offer him to bring him over, whatever it is, $2 million. I'm not sure how much money they would have to pay him. I'm no expert when it comes to the financial part of the NHL, but I know for a fact that they would have to go to that team. They would have to go to the KHL. They would have to buy him out from his KHL team, and they would have to bring him to Montreal that way. And it's the only way to do it, because if you wait till the year after his contract is over, there's a possible lockout, and we could be waiting up to 3 years to have Alexander Romanov signed in Montreal. So we'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think. I've got my fingers crossed next year he gets signed. He comes in and not even a third line pairing. I hope he slots right in with Petrie. He's that perfect second pairing line guy. Helps on the power play. And one thing about Romanov is he's a very, very good skater. He looks like a good fit for the Montreal Canadiens because of how fast he is and his style of play. He just looks like the type of guy that would fit perfect with this team. So I hope they sign Romanov. Anyways, guys, that's just a bit of information for you about Alexander Romanov, whether or not I think he's going to come to Montreal. My thoughts on it are 50-50. Let me know what you guys think. Please like, please subscribe, ring the bell for my upcoming videos. I have lots of videos about prospects, lots of videos about trade ideas, possible moves at the deadline. I might even do a few more things about the draft. I'm thinking about doing a mock draft myself. We'll see what happens. And feel free to leave a comment. Don't forget to like the video, guys. This is Scotty2Hockey, a.k.a. The Average Hockey Fan. Over and out. Enjoy your night, folks.